Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a book that's been pretty much everywhere, James Clear's runaway bestseller, Atomic Habits. Our job here is to take all those powerful ideas and really distill them down for you. So let's just jump right in.
So the book opens with this just a gut punch of a line. That's actually how the author, James Clear, starts his own story. And it's no exaggeration. We're talking a broken nose, multiple skull fractures. He was even put in a medically induced coma, a truly catastrophic injury. But, weirdly enough, it's this exact moment that becomes the starting point for everything he discovers about the power of tiny, almost invisible habits, and how they can literally rebuild a life.
And that whole experience leads us right into the first huge idea from the book, the incredible and honestly kind of surprising power of making these tiny little 1% gains.
Okay, so look at this. The math here is, well, it's pretty wild, because it's not what you'd expect. We all tend to think that small improvements just kind of add up, right? But what Clear shows is that they compound. So getting just 1% better each day for a year, it doesn't make you 365% better. No, it makes you almost 38 times better. I mean, that's huge. And on the flip side, getting 1% worse every day basically grinds you down to nothing. It's a super powerful reminder that those little daily choices we make, the ones that feel so insignificant, they're actually the very things that decide who we end up becoming.
Right. But if that math is true, why doesn't it feel like that? Why don't we feel like we're getting 38 times better? Well, it's because progress, it's just not a straight line up. We all expect to put in the work and see results right away, but real, meaningful change, that's almost always delayed. And this creates what Clear calls the valley of disappointment. You know that feeling, right? It's that super frustrating phase where you are putting in the effort, you're doing the thing, but you're just not seeing any results. And that's exactly the point where most of us give up.
And he has this perfect analogy to explain it, the melting ice cube. Just picture this. You're in a cold room with an ice cube. You start raising the temperature, 1 degree at a time. It goes from 28 degrees to 29 to 30, even 31, and nothing. The ice cube is just sitting there, solid. It looks like all your effort is doing absolutely nothing. But that work isn't wasted, see? It's being stored. And then you hit 32 degrees and bam, a breakthrough. The real takeaway is that your effort is never wasted. It's all building up this hidden potential that just gets unleashed the second you finally cross that critical threshold.
Okay, so if we know we have to push through that valley of disappointment, what's the right way to think about change? Well, that brings us to the next big idea. We need to focus on our systems, not just our goals.
Now, this might sound like we're just splitting hairs, but the book argues this distinction is absolutely fundamental. So what is the real difference between a goal, the thing you want to achieve, and a system, the process that actually gets you there?
So here's how Clear puts it. Your goal, that's the big result you want. Let's say winning a championship. But your system, that's the whole process that leads to that result. It's how you recruit players, how the coaches are managed, what you do in practice every single day. Look, goals are great for setting a direction. They tell you where to point the ship. But it's the systems, the day-in, day-out stuff, that actually move you forward. And this leads to what is probably one of the most powerful, most quoted lines from the entire book. Just let this sink in for a second. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. I mean, think about it. Every single team in a sports league wants to win the championship. Winners and losers, they have the exact same goal. So the goal itself clearly isn't the thing that separates them. The real difference? It was their system of continuous, small improvements. So, to make a change that actually sticks, we've got to go deeper than just the results. Claire breaks down change into these 3 layers. You've got outcomes on the outside, like losing weight. Then you've got your process, that's your workout routine. But the deepest layer, the core, is your identity, your beliefs about yourself. See, most of us try to change from the outside in. We focus on the outcome. But the book argues that real, lasting change happens from the inside out. It has to start with your identity. And this, right here, is the absolute key. True behavior change is identity change. The goal isn't just to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. Every single time you lace up your shoes and head out the door, even for a short jog, you are casting a vote for the type of person you want to be.
You're proving to yourself that you are a runner. It's this shift in focus from the outcome to the identity that makes the habit actually stick for good. All right, so we've talked a lot about the why. Now let's get into the how. This is the really practical stuff. A simple, 4-step framework for building those identity-based habits we've been talking about.
It turns out all of our habits, the good ones and the bad ones, they all follow this same 4-step pattern in our brains. It's called the habit loop. First, something happens, the cue. It's a trigger. That cue creates a craving, a motivation or desire for something. That craving then pushes you to a response, which is the actual habit you perform. And finally, that response gives you a reward, which feels good, and basically tells your brain, hey, let's do that again next time.
So how can we use this loop to our advantage? Well, that's where the 4 laws come in. Law number 1 is make it obvious. It's all about the cue. If you want to learn guitar, don't shove it in a case in the back of your closet. Put it on a stand right in the middle of your living room where you can't miss it. The idea is to design your environment so the good choices are the most obvious ones. Okay, law number 2, make it attractive. Our brains are basically dopamine-seeking missiles. We are hardwired to chase things that feel good. So you can use this. There's a cool strategy called temptation bundling. Let's say you need to exercise, but you want to watch your favorite show. Well, you bundle them. You only let yourself watch that show while you're on the treadmill. You're pairing something you need to do with something you really want to do.
Next up, law number 3, make it easy. Look, we are all wired to be a little bit lazy. It's not a moral failing, it's just human nature. We follow the path of least resistance, so you have to use that to your advantage. Reduce the friction. If you want to hit the gym first thing in the morning, don't make yourself hunt for your clothes when you're half asleep. Lay them out the night before. Just reduce the number of steps between you and doing the right thing.
And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, law number 4. Make it satisfying. This is what closes the habit loop and makes it repeat. Our brains evolved in a world where immediate rewards were key to survival. So for a habit to stick, it needs to feel good right away. The reward needs to be immediate. Even something small like putting a check mark on your calendar can give you that little hit of satisfaction that tells your brain, yeah, that was good. Let's do it again.
So when you put all of that together, you get this super useful checklist. To build a good habit, you just run down the list. Make it obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. And what if you want to break a bad habit? It's just as simple. You just flip it. Make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and unsatisfying. It's such a simple and elegant way to think about redesigning your own behavior.
Okay, we're heading into our final section. And this, I think, is maybe the single most practical, you can start this literally today piece of advice in the whole book.
It's called the 2-minute rule, and it is brilliant because it's so simple. The rule is this: when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. That's it. So your big goal of run 3 miles a day gets shrunk down to a 2-minute habit. Just put on my running shoes. That's the start. The point isn't that you only put on your shoes and stop. The point is to master the art of just showing up. You're building what he calls a gateway habit, a tiny little action that makes it almost effortless to slide into the bigger routine you actually want to do.
And you can apply this to pretty much anything. Read before bed every night? That becomes read 1 page. Do 30 minutes of yoga? No, that becomes take out my yoga mat. You see? It's not about getting a huge result on day 1. It's all about making the act of starting so incredibly easy that it becomes automatic. Because we all know, once you've actually started, it's 100 times easier to just keep going.
And that really is the heart of the matter, isn't it? When you master that first 2 minutes, when you make it a ritual, you're essentially building a runway that lets you take off into that state of focus you need for the real work. You're not trying to conquer the whole mountain at once. You're just focused on mastering the habit of taking that first step.
And that brings everything full circle, leaving us with the core message of Atomic Habits, all wrapped up in a single question for you to think about. It's the ultimate takeaway, really. Remarkable, life-changing results, they don't come from some massive, earth-shattering transformation. They're built from the quiet accumulation of tiny, consistent, identity-shaping habits that you do day after day after day.